Congressman, just real quick for you, just a sort of top line. You see something like that, you see and heard of other experiences that your colleagues have had in town halls, even Republicans who stopped having them because of moments like that. What does that say to you? Are you seeing a consensus among the American people beginning to emerge around how they're assessing the policies of this administration and how their expectations at election time a year ago have not been met to the point where this frustration is starting to boil over?
I've seen a lot of frustration. I was in my district today. I met with faith leaders. I met with business leaders. The hallmark of this administration so far is chaos and cruelty. And I think it's outrageous to, first of all, the Republicans control the timing of bills. They control which bills hit the floor. If we want to allow members to review the bills, I was well aware of that provision. It was one of the troubling provisions, but frankly, the one that cuts Medicaid to the tune of almost $1 trillion over 10 years, the one that cuts food stamps. Those are the ones that we were focused on. But, you know, my constituents don't want excuses from me. I think, you know, of my time in the military, the maximum effective range of an excuse is 0.
This is the provision that is in the bill that Representative Flood failed to read. No court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued. Important to note, this would apply to Judge Boasberg's contempt proceedings after finding that the government violated his orders relating to Venezuelans sent to El Salvador. The contempt proceeding is currently not happening. It's on an administrative stay, for lack of a better term. That being said, I was struck by this. You know, where this town hall, I'm from Nebraska, but I'm not from Lincoln, but Seward is near where this was happening, is near Lincoln, Nebraska. This isn't necessarily a rural area, but it's not
metropolitan.
It's metropolitan-ish. It is like many places, frankly, across the country where, yes, folks they would identify as traditional Michael Steele Republicans, right? Like regular Republicans, as I like to say. Not necessarily Trump folks. They don't like some of the things that the president has done, but they're like, he'll get these things done that I care about on taxes, so on and so forth. But the folks in this town, like many towns across the country, they care about things like the rule of law. They care about things like Medicaid and the Social Security. Do you think that this is just one town hall, but do you think that the message is going to continue to be sustained through the end of this year into the end of next year? Because all the hubbub now is great, but elections are not until November 2026.
Well, look, the way I see it is that this country is headed down a particular track. And there is no indication to me that this administration is learning lessons, even though this level of anger, unhappiness is, I see this in my district. I've seen it across the country in Republican, Democratic districts. The district that you described in Nebraska is very much like mine, suburban Washington, D.C., but we have 8 rural counties. And these are folks that are hardworking, common sense folks, and they got more than they bargained for. They thought they were sold a bill of goods during the last election, and what they're getting is something completely out of that. It's cruelty, it's chaos, it's inefficiency, and people recognize that. They see that at the grocery store in higher prices. They see that in geopolitics, the way this administration is behaving with our friends and allies, and they're getting fed up and, frankly, at record speed.
People complain to you in the grocery store?
People complain to me at town halls and forums and every place I encounter folks, my constituents.
To your point about geopolitics and about prices, we have breaking news. A U.S. court is blocking Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. This is from Reuters. A U.S. federal court blocked President Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs from going into effect, ruling that the president overstepped his authority by imposing across-the-board taxes on imports from nations that sell more to the United States than they buy. We have seen over and over again the courts be one of the only backstops to this administration's overreaches, even on something like tariffs, which, yes, to your point, has to do with prices and the way in which Americans are going to pay for those prices, but also the way in which it is reconstituting some of our global allyships.
Well, absolutely. The courts have an important role. And obviously, when the president continuously loses, it's not uniform, but continuously loses in courts, Democrat and Republican appointed judges, it's not that they're partisan or biased against him. It's that his policies are either unlawful or they're problematic. And the courts have an important role to play. The people obviously have an important role to play. 5 million people came out last month. There are additional protests scheduled for June. And obviously, we have a role to play in Congress.
But on something like tariffs, that was supposed to be the job of Congress. And you saw Republicans absolutely abdicate their responsibility, so much so that now they're trying to wrangle that responsibility back. It should never have gotten to the U.S. courts.
The judge said that.
Yes.
Absolutely. The judge said as much. He notes that the question in the two cases before the court is whether the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 delegates these powers to the president. The court does not read that act to confer such unbounded authority and sets aside the challenge tariffs imposed thereunder. Alicia is making the point.
So we start with the Constitution, which makes it very clear that Congress has the power over tariffs. And the president is using this provision in a way that's never been used by any president in the past. So he's overextending on his authority. And look, the courts obviously, I think, have made an initial determination. I think this is going to be litigated. But, you know, I think of a funny meme that's actually just hitting the socials today, and it's Taco. Trump always chickens out, right? And so he's done that repeatedly on tariffs. He's done that with Vladimir Putin. I'm glad the courts have stepped in where the president likely would have chickened out himself and has in the past.
Speaking of chickening out, as the president has done very well, it's all those bone spurs that make it very hard to cluck your way to the right spot on the field. But the reality for this president is he's got an individual in Vladimir Putin that he is apparently presumed too much. And so now he's disappointed. Let's listen to the president in his disappointment about Putin.
I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that. Very, very disappointed.
What stopped you from imposing new sanctions on Russia?
Only the fact that if I think I'm close to getting a deal, I don't want to screw it up by doing that. This isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm only here for one thing, to see if I can end it.
So, what do you take? What do you make of that? I'm so sick of it's Biden stuff. Man, take responsibility for something for once in your life. You're the president of the United States. This is happening. If you want to end the war, you can end the war. But all of this, I was, disappointed with, when people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. Well, what about what were being killed before the negotiation? Where was your outrage? Where was your disappointment with Putin then? So what are we to believe here about this president when it comes to Vladimir Putin and the Ukrainian war?
I think we're to believe that the president is finally learning what almost everybody on the planet has known, that Putin is not the good guy. Putin is a dictator, a vicious dictator. And for some reason, even though this is the president's second term, and we can draw on a number of his actions over the course of his first presidency and over the intervening 4 years, that Trump precipitated what is a destabilized geopolitical situation, that Putin is not a friend, and regardless of what he says, he is the president now. He's been president for 5 months. This is not Putin's war. This is not Zelensky's war. This is a global geopolitical issue. We saw what happened when, the president initially said he was not going to intervene in India and Pakistan, and that, it was going to spiral out of control. We can't sit on the sidelines. He's the president. He couldn't do it in 24 hours, certainly, obviously, but he's got to play a useful role. And whether we do or not, we're the preferred partner. We're not the only partners. The Europeans will. The Europeans just lifted the restrictions on long-range strikes by weapons they donated to Ukraine.
Do you think the Europeans will take a bigger lead because of where the president is, trying to figure out how he feels about Putin?
I think they will. I think it's appropriate that they do, or this is in their backyard. And they do not have the capacity that the United States has, but they certainly have the capacity. And the Ukrainians have not demonstrated that their will to fight is diminished in any way.